At that point, it doesn't matter if he's truly invested in, you know, in creating the Fourth Reich in the United States of America, because he's doing it regardless of whether he personally believes it or not. The reason why Hitler's ideas aren't taught and therefore refuted is because the United States needs fascism to continue to fight socialism in the world today. That's why they turn Nazism into a boogeyman of evil rather than an actually existing idea. Yeah. It's also because it's an actually existing idea that they kind of agree with. That's the other thing. Like, immediately, they absolutely openly agree with it in terms of collaborating with fascists, in terms of, like, the number one thing that fascists did, which was kill socialists. They love that shit. So why would they openly explain what fascism truly is? Capitalism has inherent contradictions, okay? And the weight of such contradictions become glaringly apparent at a certain point, and the system collapses under its own weight, okay? That is where barbarism comes in. That is where fascism comes in. Fascism is to reassert the same dominant forces by extra military force. Okay? That's what fascism is. That's precisely the reason why Adolf Hitler and Mussolini as well, both of which used a lot of populist and even, dare I say, somewhat leftist sentiment when they were rising to fucking power. Leftist only for the whites, though, for the in-group, for the Volk in Germany, for the real Italians in Italy. That is precisely the reason why, despite co-opting certain like leftist aesthetics, okay, they ended up collaborating with small businesses, and big business owners in it, and destroyed trade unions and killed socialists. Like, that was their number one enemy, was socialists. And a bunch of fucking hapless, baboon-brained liberal idiots at the time were like, well, the communists are the real fucking problem, actually. So, you know, we have the communists are the reason why fascists are actually so prominent. Folk just means people. You should stop saying that. Yo, Germans, I don't care, dude. Okay, I know what folk means. Okay, folk means it's the same word in English too. Folk.
Positions in the land and to oust it, for it is our will to educate our own nation for these leading positions. We have hundreds of thousands of very intelligent children of peasants and of the working classes. We shall have them educated. In fact, we have already begun, and we wish that one day they, and not the representatives of an alien race, may hold the leading positions in the state together with our educated classes. Above all, German culture, as its name alone shows, is German and not Jewish, and therefore its management and care will be entrusted to members of our own nation. If the rest of the world cries out with a hypocritical mien against this barbaric expulsion from Germany of such an irreplaceable and culturally eminently valuable element, we can only be astonished at the conclusions they draw from this situation. For how thankful they must be that we are releasing these precious apostles of culture and placing them at the disposal of the rest of the world, in accordance with their own declaration.
Okay, the irony is that the Japanese were like, no, actually release them to us, please. But that's a funny little chapter in the history of fascism. The philo-Semitic Japanese who saw the anti-Semitic scriptures and were like, damn, these guys are like magic money people. Give them to us, please. We will put them in Manchuria. But outside of that, you know.
They cannot find a single reason to excuse themselves for refusing to receive this most valuable race in their own countries. Nor can I see a reason why the members of this race should be imposed upon the German nation, while in the states, which are so enthusiastic about these splendid people, their settlement should suddenly be refused with every imaginable excuse. I think that the sooner this problem is solved, the better, for Europe cannot settle down until the Jewish question is cleared up. It may very well be possible that sooner or later an agreement on this problem may be reached in Europe, even between those nations which otherwise do not so easily come together. The world has sufficient space for settlements, but we must once and for all get rid of the opinion that the Jewish race was only created by God for the purpose of being in a certain percentage a parasite living on the body and the productive work of other nations.
Literally just straight up fucking Substitute Jewish race for migrants in America, you get Trump. Substitute Jewish race for Palestinians or Arabs, and you get Benjamin Netanyahu. Like verbatim. If you're like, damn, man, this sounds real fucking familiar to me, it's because you've heard it as many times as you've heard the top of the hour ad break that comes at the top of the hour and sometimes 20 minutes into the top of the hour when I forget to run it at directly the top of the hour. There is a 3-minute ad break coming for you, by the way. I'm German. I can say this. The worst thing you can do to a German is try to teach them about fascism, let alone the show. Germans believe we can't be fascist because we atone for our greatest sin by helping Israel as much as we can. Oh, I know. Oh, I know, chatter. Oh, I know. I know that. Germans, by the way, that are chirping in here are so funny because like this will get Nets DG'd so funny, so quickly that half of the Germans will not be able to watch this VOD anyway. So enjoy the last time you can watch this broadcast, at least for the time being. Like this is going to get Nets DG'd. I will not be able to say the fucking word. It is impossible. It's like one of those insanely complicated German words to say. Netze deutsche Vergewung or some shit, okay? It's the hate speech laws that Germany has. Netzwerkdurchsetzung gesetzt. Netzwerkdurchsetzungsgesetz. Jawohl!
The Jewish race will have to adapt itself to sound constructive activity as other nations do, or sooner or later it will succumb to a crisis of an inconceivable magnitude. One thing I should like to say on this day, which may be memorable for others as well as for us Germans, in the course of my life, I have very often been a prophet and have usually been ridiculed for it. During the time of my struggle for power, it was in the first instance the Jewish race which only received my prophecies with laughter when I said that I would one day take over the leadership of the state, and with it that of the whole nation, and that I would then, among many other things, settle the Jewish problem. Their laughter was uproarious, but I think that for some time now they have been laughing on the other side of their face. Today I will once more be a prophet. If the international Jewish financiers in and outside Europe should succeed in plunging the nations once more into a world war, then the result will not be the Bolshevization of the earth.
He's going to stop World War III.
And thus the victory of Jewry, but the annihilation of the Jewish race in Europe. The nations are no longer willing to die on the battlefield, so that this unstable international race...
People never actually read / hear the things Nazis said because they're just described as some abstract evil. Yeah, worst of all is that it's not even considered just abstract evil. It's the abstract evil of one man. Okay? And yes, this is an evil man. Okay? But if you consider what the Nazis did to be like this horrifying atrocity that was caused by like the personal convictions of a singular person, a singular evil person. Yeah, of course you're never going to understand how we are arriving at that exact same circumstance right now.
Race may profiteer from a war or satisfy its Old Testament vengeance. The Jewish watchword...
Yeah, Germans lecturing others on how phrasing and optics is important. Meanwhile, their states are getting more and more fascist. I think their methods aren't too good. Yeah. Yeah, Germans need to tell me. I will listen to fucking Germans about like how to defeat fascism when they don't allow the AfD to keep gaining more prominence. And also don't give everything Israel wants to Israel as it's doing its own fucking Holocaust in Gaza. Okay? This is the first time hearing the AI English version of his voice, giving me chills. is so good that you show this to an English audience. Reading the speeches is different than actually listening to them. I am German and I'm also black. I believe in, and many do so, that Hitler was a tipping point and that the Holocaust was basically the culmination of all the genocide the countries Germany colonized in Africa. By the way, none of these is taught in schools and 99% of Germans don't know about it. I mean, he's literally saying it. He's like, we gave away our colonies, which he didn't volunteer them, okay? And nobody even said thank you for that. Like, and then he continues to talk about the hypocrisy of Western nations who also personally have their same colonies, like that they still operate. Okay. Officers of the Namibian genocide became Nazi officials. Yes. Like France in particular. I know. France is again, dude, it is everything old is new again. Okay. Everything old is new again. Everything old is new again. Look at Vichy France. Okay. Everyone is going through their own 1920s to 1930s evolution towards fascism right now, with one very important distinction. We do not have an FDR, and there is no anti-fascist counterforce on the planet. Okay? There is no socialist, ideologically minded, socialist, revolutionary country that will become the other global superpower. Before you say Xi Jinping, as much as I glaze China for high-speed rail and, like, you know, killing billionaires that poison children or whatever, if you think China is an ideological counterweight to growing capitalism and growing fascism on the planet, you are delusional, okay? They are not. They only care about China. Okay? China only cares about China. And sometimes China only cares about China to a degree where, like, you can literally have Maoist or socialist groups that China doesn't even help. Okay? The USSR, for all of its faults and failures, even though they were obviously personally invested in, whatever their project was, they still absolutely were either A, forced into this dynamic, or B, genuinely helped their ideological allies in their own personal anti-colonial endeavors. China does not do that. If they did do that, it would be literally beneficial for them to do so in the Philippines. Okay? There are active Maoist rebel groups in the Philippines. Okay? It's just waiting. It's right there. They constantly are fucking having issues in their own backyard. Okay? They're, hitting their fucking Coast Guard boats on the Filipino boats and they're spraying them with water. Okay? If they wanted to cause instability or even engage in some kind of intervention in the Philippines, they're right there. You could just do that. America does it all the time. You could literally do that. You could just use the Maoist groups there and fund them and cause them to overtake the Filipino government. Obviously, it wouldn't be that easy because America has too much vested interest in the Philippines. It's yet another unsinkable aircraft carrier for them. But, like, you could at least cause some level of instability and leverage the ideological allies that you have in the Philippines. China doesn't even do that. They don't do that at all. Because China just wants to sell product, okay? At the end of the day, they don't want to fuck up the bag. They don't want to rock the boat. They just want to do their own thing, and they want to keep pumping they want to keep pumping out product, and they are looking for new markets to sell product to, and they've realized that the Western world is tapped out, so they have to develop Africa so they can find a new market that they can pump their product to. That's it. They stay grinding. That's it. They just want to get their money up and not their funny up. They don't have like they do not have a committed ideological project in like, letting socialism thrive or anything like that. That's it. Now things might change. Who knows? They might be forced into, taking global action inevitably. But the reality is, from where China is standing, at least looking at their actions, when China takes Taiwan, 95% of this community is going to freak the fuck out. Oh, brother. Who knows? Forced to take over Vietnam and Taiwan. Oops. As far as I understand, okay, in terms of Vietnam, like, there are more trade relationships between Vietnam and China than ever before, and that the way that like the Vietnamese Chinese relationship works is no longer as hostile as it once was, for obvious fucking reasons. Okay? Bro, China is just patient right now. Like, what do you want us to do? Give the US a perfect excuse to start World War III with us? No, I just don't think that China is even remotely interested in fucking up the bag. That's all I'm saying. Vietnam and America are close. Oh, so is China. China is very close with a lot of countries. A lot of countries that have been fucked over by the West, and even some countries that have been funded and pumped by the West. The China is colonialist take is dumb. Wait, I never said that. What are you talking about? I'm simply stating that the USSR offered two ideological allies. The USSR offered financial support, okay? Or they also offered like logistical support. Okay? China doesn't even do that in places where they can at least like cause a little bit of instability in an effort for self-preservation. Does that make sense? It's already over. The new Cold War is happening. The U.S. realizes that China is outpacing the U.S. on strategic technology and just raw industrial power. Harris is all in on confronting China and trying to stop their economic growth. I know. And considering the past, 30, 40, 50 years of like Western dominance and what that meant for developing nations, there are a lot of people who have been fucked over by our side of the world, our sphere of influence. So they are incredibly happy about creating a new allegiance with another nation that is also an industrial powerhouse, if not a larger one than the United States of America is. China is the biggest imperialist nation in the 21st century. Wait, what? China is the biggest imperialist nation in the 21st century? You're an American and you just said that? What the fuck are you talking about? Dude, the example... This isn't even a defense of China. This is just a defense of the truth. Like, I don't know what the fuck you're saying. Dude. First of all, nobody comes near the United States of America. Okay? Nobody. You are the most delusional person on the planet if you think that that is even a comparison. This does not make other countries' imperial ambitions appropriate. Okay? But you are out of your fucking mind if you think that that is the case. An example I regularly use is, for example, everybody constantly being like, the Chinese Coast Guard is actually harming the Filipino boats. Okay, they're spraying them with water. They're ramming into them, and it's really disruptive. Okay, America is doing a genocide in fucking Palestine right now, like right now. Okay, or if you want to think of like an adversary of America, because your brain only works in this direction. Okay, in one direction, look at what Russia's doing in Ukraine. Do you think these are even remotely comparable? We got 800 fucking military bases that we know of all around the planet. And you're like, man, the most imperialist nation of the 21st century is fucking China. That's crazy. Yeah, they got back Hong Kong from the UK. Jesus Christ. Bro, they're hosing those boats with water. They'll rust. I know. Chatter is fucking due for a lobotomy. America was a unipolar hegemonic force in the 21st fucking century. Reddit as take. Holy shit, G, please nuke Reddit. Yeah, see, he won't do that. Okay, because he doesn't want to fuck up the bag, dog. That's what I'm saying. Russia, for all of its fucking awful and outright fascist invocations of empire, okay, with much less money, is doing everything in its fucking power to like to make territorial gains, and which is incredibly fucking costly, okay, incredibly costly in terms of lives. I'm saying, like, it's brutal, it's barbaric, it is completely unacceptable, but they do a shit ton more in trying to, at the very least, combat American hegemony, and they're for their own personal gain, mind you. Okay? Is Russia more imperialist than America? Oh my God, bro. Oh my God. America is doing a Ukraine, or has done a Ukraine for the past 20 years. The only difference is you don't have the capacity to analyze it in the same fucking vein. That's it. This is why whenever I criticize Russia for being like America, so many Americans would be like, what the fuck? Why are you defending Russia? It's like, no, I'm saying they're the big bad. Okay? America's the big bad, and what Russia is doing is akin to America, which is the worst thing you can be considered from where I'm standing. After Saigon fell in 1975, China invaded Vietnam only 4 years later. There's a long history of mistrust between the countries in China's periphery and China. The two biggest heroes in Vietnamese lore after Ho Chi Minh are famous because of them protecting Vietnam from Chinese incursion. Quang Trong was famous because of his victory over the Qing dynasty, and Tran Hung Dao because of his victory over the Yuan. How likely is the U.S. to do a genocide domestically? Well, that comes back to the conversation that we were just having about Donald Trump being Hitlerian. Can't believe every conversation has to go back to China somehow, because Americans cannot just like analyze our own problems with, by being compared to an even bigger bad historically, without immediately being like, well, what about our foreign adversaries? They're doing some fuck shit too. And then me, being the stubborn, annoying, autistic asshole that I am, have to immediately correct people for having the wrong opinion and not having any of the fucking knowledge on historical facts. Yeah, the U.S. already finished their genocide once. I'm saying that they're going to do another domestic one seemingly soon. And I don't know if it's going to be the Democratic Party that conducts it or the Republican one. You know what I mean? It's going to happen, though. Yeah, let's just ignore the Uyghur genocide. Brother, you're doing it. You're doing the thing that I'm saying. Okay? There has never been a moment where I'm like, that's like the Chinese government did not engage in cultural genocide and also fucking mass concentration camps or mass re-education camps for the Uyghur population in Xinjiang. Okay, I never said that. please shut the fuck up. Okay? Jesus Christ. You're doing but China again. This is not about China versus America. This is about what America is doing. The only reason why you do that, is because you feel bad. You feel bad. There's a little Western chauvinist dog in you that's barking every time I talk about this.
It considers their protection. It's
Literally, one guy says this. You got Adrian Zenz. No, I didn't get Adrian Zenz. Come on, dog. Like, dude. There's an understandable reason to be like risk averse and not want an active hot or cold war with China. Okay, that is the correct position. And then there's being a MAGA guy, but for Xi Jinping. A lot of leftists go between the two, like in almost a second. Okay, there is no reason for you to be a MAGA supporter, but for Xi. All right, like the irony of that sentiment expressed is that he literally said he's doing this tailored off of America's war on terror. Okay, you cannot point to separatist movements. You cannot point to separatist movements as a reason to do mass surveillance and wholesale dragnet operations on every single person that you claim is trying to separate Xinjiang from China. Okay, you cannot point to knife attacks, acts of terror conducted by Muslim Uyghurs to say we have to do mass surveillance in an entire region and just like forcibly try and Hanify or pacify the entire fucking area. Okay, the United States of America did similar things as well. It was completely unacceptable. It is ridiculous to try and defend this position. What you can say, however, is that this is no longer a thing that is occurring. Okay? How do you explain the fact that every single country has Chinese shops in every single corner? I don't know, because the food is good. Like what? There's a lot of people, man. There's a lot of Chinese people, okay? And the food is bomb. Like it's yummy. There's just a lot of Chinese people, dude. There's a lot of Indian people too. There's a lot of Indian restaurants too. Like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, who the fuck looks at a Chinese restaurant and goes, "This is imperialism happening"? You have to be a real brain broken idiot to fucking have this attitude, dude. How do we stop the Uyghur camps though? They are no longer in operation, at least according to the Associated Press. So unless the Associated Press is in the pocket of big China, which I doubt they are, considering our own personal vested interest in like undermining China at every step at the behest of the U.S. State Department, it doesn't exist any longer. That's probably the reason why there's so many fucking TikTokers that suspiciously go to Xinjiang and you know TikTok in Xinjiang about how sick it is over there.
task. The destruction of the enemies of the state is its duty. The National Socialist state is neither prudish nor deceitful. There are, however, certain moral principles, adherence to which is in the interests of the biological health of a nation, and with which we tolerate no tampering. Pederasty and sexual offenses against children.
Yeah, these pedophilic gays, dude. destroying the moral fabric of society. Huh. Bro, conservatives only conserve one thing, and that is talking points, okay? They only recycle one thing, and that is talking points. Bar for bar, verbatim, okay?
Are punishable by law in this state, no matter who commits such crimes. When some 5 years ago, certain heads of the National Socialist Party were found guilty of these crimes, they were shot. When other persons in public or private life, even priests, are guilty of such offenses, they are, according to law, sentenced